Hello and welcome to Fanfiction Analysis with Emma Ivelli. I'm Emma Ivelli and this is my possessed computer read. One Piece is my all-time favorite anime and Steven Universe is a show that I love. But what happens when you bring these two shows together? This is A Gem in the Rough by Drum Master, an excellent crossover where Steven ends up in the One Piece world. No, not at all. From now on, whenever I do a look at, I will be giving a synopsis, followed by talking about various topics, which will vary from fanfic to fanfic. Spoiler warning, if you haven't read the fanfic yet, stop this video, go read it, and come back another time. Now, for those who have read it, or I don't care about the spoilers, here's the synopsis. Steven goes on a gem mission to find the Lefty Stones, a personal lore pad if you will, that was dangerous and the gems want to destroy. Of course, right away, it sends him to the Grand Line, where he meets Mr. Five and Miss Valentine. Nope. They both give each other exposition, and of course Steven does his via the theme song. He quickly befriends them and is brought to Little Garden. Miss Golden Week ends up looking after him. He learns about the truth about Below Voice and gives a speech about how he can't force Utopia. Then Sanji shows up, and there's more reason why you suck speeches. Then the call comes in, and Steven pretends to be a bounty hunter with Sanji as his partner. Afterwards, Miss Golden Week, or as she's really known, I don't know. I think I'm pronouncing it wrong. So help me if I am. And she quits Below Voice. They come up with a plan to flee the group Mr. Three captured. Also, Luffy and Steven instantly hits it off in the middle of the fight. Sorry, it's just... this is very much in canon for both of them. During the fighting, Miss Valentine and Mr. Five both make a heel face turn, and they go by their real names of Damien and Patria. Oh, I hope I'm still pronouncing it correctly. Steven promises to help save Alabaster and becomes the Straw Hats musician. This is way before Blick shows up, so don't complain. Meanwhile, the gems are extremely worried about Steven, having searched the whole world for him. After realizing he might be in another universe, there's only one person they can call, and that person is Uncle Grandpa. For those who don't know, don't remember, or blocked it from your mind, Steven Universe actually crossed over with the show Uncle Grandpa. It was quickly declared not canon within the episode itself, plus there's a few hilarious jokes that make the episode not completely unredeemable. But yeah, that episode is canon to this fanfic. But don't worry, he's not a main character, and he's just merely a plot device. After using Connie to summon Uncle Grandpa, they learn that they are part of a Cartoon Network multiverse, consisting of 3 layers: Cartoon Network, Toonami, and Adult Swim. And so, the Gems, Connie, and Greg begin to travel the worlds. Back in the One Piece world, Patria is the one who is ill, so when they get to Drum, Steven and Damien join the canon group to get the doctor. During the fight with the Lapan, Steven and Luffy end up fusing. This is a very contentious part of the fanfic, which personally I don't mind, and in fact really like, because it was already established that these two are on the same wavelength, so it makes sense that they would fuse. While there are some changes, there's not many I can really talk about in this synopsis. It feels like the 9th movie all over again, except the place who ends up fusing with who. After the arc, we see the gems search for Steven across the multiverse. They eventually get to Tom, who sends them to the Grand Blind, where they meet up with Mr. 3. On the way to Alabaster, of course, they meet Mr. 2, but thanks to the fact that there's heel-faced Below-Quick agents on board, they know who they are and they're able to cover up what's going on. While in Alabaster, Steven meets and befriends Tashigi and ends up spilling the beans, so the Malanes know what's going on. Later, Steven, as Tiger Millionaire, goes to the meeting and tries to become the new Mr. 3. Even being Steven, he wins almost everyone over. However, when they get to the lane race, Crocodile reveals he knows Tiger Millionaire was made up, and there's traitors in their midst. After a series of events, they end up in the same cage as Cannon. Though thanks to twists in canon, Vivi doesn't show up, but the crystal gems do. They get into a fight with Crocodile, while Glade flees them from the cage with something he got from another universe. I'll get to that later. When it's time for the final battles, they try to get Steven to leave with the crystal gems. But of course, they tearfully admit they don't want him to leave. Garnet, after hearing about Steven and Luffy fusing, agree they should help remain throughout the rest of the arc. They have conversations, but of course, Crocodile kidnaps Steven, and Luffy follows. And of course, this also leads to the desert fight. Garnet foresees they will lose the fight, so she decides to fuse with either Amethyst or Pearl to fight him. With the Crocodile fight, he decides to outright kill Steven, but Steven and Luffy fuse. However, Crocodile just stabs them. But then, Sardonyx shows up to fight Crocodile, while Robin saves Leuven. Thanks to Leuven recovering, he and Sardonyx defeat Crocodile completely and utterly, turning him into smokers. However, the officer agents aren't aware of Crocodile's defeat, but they are given the order not to kill Straw Hats by Robin. Now, unlike the Drum Island arc, this arc has so many changes. In fact, one of them is that Mr. 2 is the unfought. But I'm not going to cover the fight scenes for a few reasons. Yeah, pretty much. Robin leads the Poneglyph and lets the king go. Then, she and Luffy have a conversation that ends with him inviting her to join. Also, the White Flag plan happens like canon, but thankfully Guinevere has a plan to stop the fighting, which succeeds, while Petria manages to figure out how to use her powers to stop the bomb, and so the day is saved. However, the Malanes are sending Garp to deal with everything, and so everything begins to wind down. But we do get our first hint at the myth arc involving the gems. And also, Steven and Sardonyx gain bounties. In the middle of the night, they go back to the Going Merry, and the next day, Vivi gives her iconic, tearful goodbye. However, in a twist, Smoker and Tashigi stowed away in order to warn them about Garp. Luffy, of course, freaks out, and it doesn't help when Garp shows up throwing cannonballs at them. They hit the belly badge in order to go back to Uncle Grandpa, but accidentally activate something called PMC and causes them to go to Beach City. Robin takes this moment to reveal herself. Luffy reveals he invited her, and almost everyone is upset about this fact. However, after asking her a few questions, Garnet trusts her. I'll get into those questions later. And so all of Beach City welcomes Steven back. Introductions are made, though Smoker's not happy with everything. The gems give exposition about what's going on with them. Later, at Beachapalooza, Steven introduces the Straw Hats by a variation of the Four Kids One Piece laugh. You see, this isn't the first time I was nitpicked. the viewers. Years ago, in my first couple of shows, I had the berserk buttons, and one of them was for Kids One Piece. I have since made peace with that dub. It's quite simple. Funimation has been dubbing One Piece for over 10 years. But the other two things, I will admit, still grind my gears. The next night, they watched Star Wars. However, the movie gives Robin flashbacks, and she has a bit of a panic attack on the beach. This is where she finds Peridot. Tashigi had slipped out of Steven's house and finds her dealing with the jam. During the ensuing fight, Peridot shoots a beam that hits the fly place, setting it on fire. Damien takes charge and helps out with the fire. Peridot kidnaps Steven like Cannon to fix the warp pad, and does actually manage to explain about the cluster this time around. Onion developed a crush on Petria and managed to find a devil fruit on the hull of the ship. He intends to give it to her as a gift and hides it in Steven's house. Blake ends up finding it and eating it, and it turns out to be related to music. Garnet quickly realizes that too many convenient things are happening, and quickly realizes it has something to do with Uncle Grandpa. They try to summon him again, but this time it fails. They decide to give the Straw Hats various goodbye gifts. During this time, Damien reveals Mayor Dewey hired him to be a firefighter and gives his tragic backstory, and talks about his 100% true childhood dream of being one. Just to be clear, childhood dream is canon, tragic backstory isn't. Patria decides to stay with him as she's not leaving him behind in another world, and her, also canon, dream would be easier to obtain in Beach City, considering it is to be a chocolatier. As someone who used to live in a seaside city, yeah, there are a lot of chocolate shops by the water. That is when Uncle Grandpa finally appears. He explains what PMC is, plot contrivance mode. Using Steven's computer, he creates the Steven badge, which will allow them to travel between the two worlds, but only in times of great need, as it's a bad idea to travel through dimensions too often. Soon enough, they end up back in the Grand Line, right at the moment they left. Thanks to Glake's new devil fruit powers, they're able to get Garp to stop throwing the cannonballs. After making his way to the ship, it's revealed he was sent after Sardonyx, and was only throwing the cannonballs to say hello. Garp soon leaves. Smoker does as well, with no intention of arresting him right away. But we'll save it for the future. Steven sings a goodbye song, and Steven and everyone who's staying in Beach City go back. That night, Steven is wondering what Peridot said about the cluster, and goes to speak to her, leading to the rest of catching lice, while Smoker meets up with Sengoku and the Gorosei, and Smoker learns something very important from the meeting. The world government knows what gems are. End of the first story of this series. I left out a lot, but to be fair, this is a very long story. So anyways, first topic, crossover interactions. Not counting Leuven, this has a lot of great crossover interactions. Steven, like Cannon, was able to win over many people very quickly. Really, the only ones he didn't were Mr. 3, the Mr. 1 pair, and Crocodile. The fights in the main battle I didn't talk about in the synopses. Even those had excellent crossover interactions. A good example is in the Mr. 4 pair fight, where Garnet plays a role as the comically serious. Not only that, But in the missed double finger fight, Greg plays a role and actually does some damage. I'll get more into that later. But this fanfic really shines in crossover interaction when they get to Beach City. From minor interactions to friendships being born, such as Usopp befriending Ronaldo, Sadie developing a kind of sort of friendship with Smoker, and of course, Onion's crush on Patriarch. The last of which is really funny because before they even joined the Straw Hats, Steven told her stories about Beach City, including stuff about Onion, so she's really creeped out by him before she even meets him. Also, I heard there were gonna be more character interactions, such as more with Sadie and Smoker, as well as Sanji befriending Petey over a shared love of cooking. Either way, if you love crossover interactions, this is a great one. Anyways, next one. AU level. The AU of the story starts off very slowly. There's some character changes, additions here and there, character replacements, i.e. Petria being the one who gets ill. But when Steven leaves for the Baroque's meeting, things start changing big time. The first fight with Crocodile ends up being the only fight with Crocodile thanks to Sardonyx. And like I've said before, the fights with the officer agents are vastly different. And thanks to Crocodile's earlier defeat, Luffy asks Robin to join instead of her just stowing away on the ship like Cannon. And there's a lot with Mr. 2, who actually agrees to get arrested so he could get sent to Impel Down and meet Ivankov. Not only that, but Garp is revealed to be Luffy's grandpa much earlier than Cannon. And that's before they even get to Beach City, where thanks to certain events, they completely avoid the plot to Sadie's song. That's not getting into the event of the hinted myth arc involving gems in the One Piece world. It's only mentioned a couple times, but when it's mentioned, you know something went down. But yeah, starts off slow, but ends up becoming a completely different beast. Anyways, next topic. Shoutouts and additional crossovers. This is a shoutout heavy story, so much so that they have a page for it on TV Tropes. Some of them are quick jokes, such as Blake telling everyone he lives in a van down by the water, to Uncle Grandpa giving them a TM when he gives them the Steven badge. Some of them are drawn attention to but are very amusing, such as Garnet's questions, which are, what is your name, what is your dream, and what is your favorite color? Although some of them are really weird, like this one. Say, Glum Glass, what did the Spanish librarian say to the Iranian doctor? A sad-looking piece of bacon asking a glass of milk. Yeah, and Steven Universe and South Park don't go together. I mean, Lily, what is this? Some sort of awesome Steven Universe South Park crossover that I plan to review in a future episode? And there's also running gags, such as Steven constantly calling Crocodile Codfish, and at one point singing Never Smile at a Crocodile to him. But there's also one that annoys me. It's not to the shadow itself, but to TV Tropes mislabeling it, and it's this bit. Usually, when I see a glowing ball in the sky or something, I just repeat to myself that it is gem business and I should really just relax. Mayor Dewey stared out the window, tapping it gently. That is not a shout-out. A shout-out is when a work of fiction references another work, but they aren't related in any way. This, on the other hand, is an actor illusion, because the character is voiced by Joel from MST3K. Sorry for mentioning it, but it annoyed me big time. Also, there's additional crossovers beyond Uncle Grandpa and Tom, when they travel to different worlds. They end up in Dexter's lab, Townsville, another place I'll get into later, the Batcave, and it's hinted at they ended up in the cul-de-sac, as well as meeting Johnny Bravo. I do have a small complaint about some of these shoutouts. When it comes to video games, it's all bland name products, like Smash Pals or Game Guy. It's just a bit off considering the big one. Not only is it one of the crossover worlds, but the shoutouts are so numerous that sometimes they heavily tie into the plot. And that franchise is Star Wars. Holy crap, there's so many references to Star Wars in this fanfic. Some settle to stand being described as rough and coarse. The plot points when they watch The New Hope, like I mentioned in the synopsis, to even Chekhov's gun. When they cross over into the Star Wars world, they end up in the Clone Wars, and they manage to get their hands on a lightsaber. Not only do they use it to get the Straw Hats out of the Seastone cage, but Gleg uses it in such a way that severely damages Miss Doublefinger's hand. That's almost exactly what Gleg says. And then there's how Steven introduces himself as Tiger Millionaire. The boy started to sweat a bit before snapping his fingers. They call me Tiger Millionaire. I'm the best at what I do. Are you now? The voice asked. What exactly do you do? And how did you come to be with my people? It was clear that Steven didn't think this through, though he quickly fell back on the one thing he did know: television and movie stereotypes. Just a bounty hunter from the Outer Rim territories. My partner, Steven winked at Sanji, who shook his head with disapproval. Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I was saved by Mr. Five. We owe him a favor, no questions asked. And later, when he meets Mr. Two, he brings up the castle run. And of course, with Sanji's alias being what it is, this leads to a blick joke. Oh yeah. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. And there's so many references, I can't name them all. Star Wars in this fanfic can be best summed up as a plot point. And of course, there's the next topic. Musical numbers. Not much to say about this one, other than the fact that Steven sometimes breaks into song. I did, of course, mention a couple of these, which include The Four Kids Flap and Never Smile at a Crocodile. It is Steven Universe, so musical numbers are to be expected. Nope, sorry. Quote, I'd like to share. This is one of the topics that's actually going to be in every episode. The little bits and scenes that I would like to share that I haven't already. This one is Steven and Luffy explaining fusion to Sanji and Damien. If two gems really care about each other, they can dance together and become one giant person, Steven figured it out. Yeah, that's it. Since I'm half gem, I confuse with regular humans, and I guess humans who ate devil fruit. If two gems really care for each other, Damien blinked. Dance? Sanji gave Luffy and Steven a disgusted look. Yeah, it was awesome, Luffy smiled. The two men shivered and looked back at the two innocent souls on the bed. Does that not sound like anything to you, Luffy? He shook his head. What part? Yep, that old joke. Which is technically canon. It makes sense with Sanji. But anyways, any complaints? This will be the other one that will be in every episode. Unless I review a bad fic and then it will be any positives. Well, there's not many, but one of them is Amethyst getting poofed in the Miss Doublefinger fight. It takes folks had days to recover from it, despite the fact that getting poofed and taking so long is one of Pearl's special quirks. I would say it would be a quirk of the One Piece world, but in the sequel, Garnet also gets poofed, and Ruby and Sapphire quickly recover. Also, I mentioned earlier the whole bland name when it comes to video games, so there's that too. But there's not much except for those couple things, so I guess it's time for the final verdict. This is a very, very enjoyable fic, with twists to the canon, great character interaction, and very little complaints. Though, if you dislike shoutouts, I don't think it's for you. But if shoutouts are your thing, I highly recommend this story. And like I mentioned before, there is a sequel, and it's still ongoing. But I'll cover that at a later time. Well, that's it for today's episode. Later! If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, share, and subscribe. Also, support me on Patreon. The link is in the description.